Now we'll be discussing a very interesting topic of psychology. We call it as a nature of perception. What is perception? See, perception is a very beautiful phenomenon. Means perception means perceiving the objects according to their characteristics and our own characteristics, or thinking process, or our own beliefs, all our cultural settings, and all our different temperament. So we perceive the objects not as they are. We generally perceive the objects as we love to perceive, love to see what they are. So it's a very interesting phenomena. And now see, there's a very important picture here. You can see beautiful flowers. These flowers are of kadam ka ped. These are kadam ke fool. You can see. And one more before starting this video, I want to show you one more picture. See, this is the image I want to show you. How you perceive this image? You perceive this image differently as it has happened there actually. So there's a difference between that. The moment you see this image, you have different of your visual images within your brain. So whose mistake it was, there was something different, someone came, different ideas. We collaborate together and we come out with an outcome and explain this image in different terms. Getting my point? So all this phenomena is described under one concept in psychology, that is known as perception. Getting my point? So now let us move, as it is customary in my videos. We discuss generally. We start with definition, we meaning, a little bit of introductory session. So this is a very this video is nature of perception part. Before going deeper into the concept of perception, I let you know the meaning and definition of the perception. So you are just seeing this image. This image also says something about perception. Now, what's the meaning of perception? See, meaning perception as an English word had been derived from the Latin word percipio. Okay, that percipio means receiving and collection or collection. See, so here in that context of that percipio, perception's meaning has been defined. Means what is perception? One thing I want to tell you here is perception includes the sensation. Okay, means sensation is a part of perception. Means perception is not possible without sensation. So, or you can call it as a sensation is prior step of perception. So perception means you could get the point. It has been derived from the Latin word percipio, which means receiving and collection. Now, what is definition? There are also definition of the perception. So, the definition which suited best to the graduate students, I picked up that from the NCERT book. That means the process by which we recognize, interpret, or give meaning to the information provided by sense organs is called perception. This is a very comprehensive definition and contains only the relevant aspect of the perception. Means, see, your sense organs are the primary components, objects that play a vital role in the perception. Okay, so the information to your brain is provided by the sense organs. Okay, from these informations, you know what sense organs do? They convert the physical stimuli into neural impulses. Then neural impulses travels to your brain, to the specific parts of the brain. From there, what brain do is it receives that information, interpret. Before interpretation, it organizes the information, it matches with the available information, and it interprets the information in context of your temperament, your cultural settings, your beliefs, and your behavior and everything else, and your environment. You interpret that information and come out with an output. So before coming out an output, if output is your type of behavior, but before output, that process from receiving information to interpreting the information, that process is known as perception. So this is perception. So we have three aspects here: sensation, perception, and your behavior. Sensing the information, then information is organized, received, organized, and interpreted. This part is perception, and then after that, your brain orders to your body to engage in certain activities. That comes under your behavior. I think meaning and definition is clear. Of little bit of nature of perception in this video. We'll be discussing introductory part only, because if we discuss whole part what is the nature of perception totally, that video will be too lengthy and it will become a little bit of monotonous, and people tend to lose interest in long videos. So let us start a little bit introductory session here only. Perception is one of the topics of cognitive domain of psychology. So, perception forms the cognition, or it has been derived from the cognition. The information received from senses is collected, organized, interpreted, as Baron says in 1993, to give meaning that helps in understanding the environment. That's good. We always, through the perception, we try to understand their immediate environments. Let it be internal as well as external. It's a process of making sense out of raw material provided by the senses. The senses provide you the raw material. Means they provide only neural impulse. Whatever from the thing, object, the neural impulse, that physical stimulus is converted into neural impulse, and that neural impulse travels to your brain. That is the role of senses. Out of that raw input, your brain interprets the information and comes out with a finished product. That finished product is your perception. And how that occurs? That perception is a function of, means it is mediated by your intellect, prior knowledge, your motivation, cultural perspective, your memory, learning, emotional state, characteristics of stimulus, expectation, and other psychophysiological processes. All these components which are discussed right now, you can see here, this intellect and prior knowledge, motivation, cultural perspective, memory, learning, emotional state, characteristics of stimulus, expectation, and other psychophysiological processes. These are the components, these are the concepts that mediate the perceptual process. Means perception is the product function of these. No doubt, sense organs play important role in perception, but they only transfer the information, whereas your brain interprets the information in context of these things. That's why it has been said that when we perceive something, we do not perceive the object as it is. We perceive the object as we love or like to perceive it. Why it occurs is that is due to these things. When an individual, by virtue of staying in a socio-cultural environment, then in that process he or she accumulates various beliefs and knowledge. When we perceive something, that perception is purely not what it has to be. We perceive in context of these things. Getting my point? Now, and if someone asks you to define perception in just in one line, it is interpretation of sensory inputs. Okay? So, little bit context of nature of perception. So, the images are here. This is your, the most important part, your commander, or you can call the chief of your body, means that's and resides in your headquarters. And this is the gentleman responsible for the perception. So let us start with the nature of perception. Interestingly, perception has both qualities. Perception you call the dichotomous. That is, it is a subjective as well as objective. In that, it's a complex process. And how it is subjective? Subjective in the sense that no two individuals perceive the same stimulus in similar fashion. For example, if two individuals are looking at the rising sun, so beautiful natural phenomena, in that case, both the individuals' stimulus is similar for the both the individuals, and both the individuals perceive that phenomena in different context. Why it is different context? As I told you in earlier slide, due to the various factors, various components. So that's the process which we call it as a perception is a subjective process. Okay. Now how the objective process? It's also objective too. Because in a sense that certain stimuli are perceived exactly same by all people at all times except those with psychophysiological deficiency. For example, if you show someone as a color, if you show someone as a red color, if an individual is not suffering from color blindness or something, a blindness, every individual will call that color as a red. If you see, ask someone moving train, ask you what the object that is moving on the rails, what everyone will perceive it is a train. Means here it is objectiveness. Means at all times, all individual perceive the same stimulus in the same context. In this, therefore, perception is subjective as well as objective. It represents, what does mean it here? Yes, it's a perception. Perception represents the immediate mental state of the perceiver. How we can say that? Yes, a good question. How we can say that perception represents the immediate mental state of the perceiver? There are projective methods of in psychology that assess your personality. These methods prove, various researches, various work on these projective methods have proved that when we give someone a vague stimulus or unorganized stimulus, individuals tend to interpret that stimuli in different ways. Why? What is the different ways? What is the present mental state of the individual? Is represented through their writings or their storytellings or some formation of the completion of sentences or formation of sentences. Why it is that has been called as it represents your mental state. This means how you can prove that? It can be in various times. It has been proved through the projective methods which has been developed to assess your personality. Okay, let us. So here it is. Each individual is similar in objective aspect but differs in subjective aspect. In objective aspect, in the sense, every individual has two eyes, every individual has two ears or one nose or cheek. This is the process where we can call it the individuals are similar in their objective aspect. But differs in subjective aspect means we think differently. We perceive the object differently. Our belief system are different. Our cultural system are different. So in that case, our each individual differs. So it's a very interesting thing that individuals are similar as well as unique. Getting my point? Next, the differential subjective aspect. The means on the aspect which we differs leads to uniqueness in behavior. Means why we are unique in our behavior? Due to the subjective components of our beingness. Due to that only we are unique. And because of the perception which is a very decisive factor. And perception, how perception is the outcome or the product of information processing which occurs in your headquarters, that is your brain. The processing of information is assisted by the generation of virtual relevant images. Means when we perceive something, give meaning to something, that occurs in conjunction with the virtual images that gets developed in your brain, which are the basic building blocks of the perception. So when we perceive something, as Aristotle has said, that when you perceive words or something else, that is the imagery of your soul. Means without imaging the words in their form, we cannot perceive, understand the meaning of that words. So these that small images are the building blocks of perception. Depending upon the situations, perception can be achieved by analysis or synthesis of information. We analyze the information and we synthesize the information. Post engaging in the two activity analysis synthesis, then we perceive the object. So dear of perception. This is your last slide. We'll be discussing something because perception is a very wide topic, widely studied. So we need to give some time and some efforts to describe its nature. I told you that it's a subjective. This image clearly depicts. This is a subjective process. Okay, though this diagram has been intelligently drawn, and this individual says these are the four sticks. This says these are the three sticks. These are differential aspect of the perception. Perception correlates with conscious observation skills. How it is? The finer the observation skills, the lesser the gap between the perception and reality. See, your observation, quality of your observation skill, higher or better your observation skill, better will be your perception. Means better perception means the gap, the difference between what you have perceived and what in reality that object exists. The difference between these two is the point, and that can be minimized through your observation skills. This means the individuals who have better observation, they have perceived objects almost as they are. Okay, remember perception is not the exact mirror image of reality. It is not exact, rather a representative one which is prone to modification. Suppose you see some object today or perceive some object today. That object you perceive, object will remain static, but your perception of that object is prone to modification because the perception is not exact as it has been. It is because it is not a real mirror image of that object, and because it is mediated by the various components which I told you earlier. Due to that, perception is prone to modification. It can modify in due course of time, and due to that only we study a very important phenomena in forensic psychology: eyewitness testimony. That is the product function of your memory and perception, though it is, and finally it comes from the cognitive domain. The perception influences and get influenced. See, it's a very interesting fact about perception. It influences and get influenced by the various psychological processes such as arousal, motivation, emotions, learning, covert behavior, etc., etc. So very means perception has two-way traffic. It means two-way relationship. It influences your these components, cognitive system, and it gets influenced by the cognitive system. How it is? For example, if you see a very beautiful flower today and you do not know the name of that flower, your cognitive domain, first aspect is you see the information, it travels to your senses, to your brain. You see it's a flower, it's something, it is just like I was seen earlier, something it is. So your brain says, oh, it's a flower. But you search, what is the name of this flower? You search out that, but you do not know. It may be this one, it may be that one. See, your cognitive domain has influenced by the that flower, and that perception or that interpretation of that information is influenced by your cognitive domain, means the information which has been stored previously in your brain that you are calling the flower, you are giving name to the flower due to your previous knowledge, prior knowledge, and that is your cognitive aspect. Means perception is influenced and influences the psychological processes, your different which comes under the subset, which are the subset of the cognitive domain. So dear friends, this is nature of perception part 1. So these are my references, you can cross check them, and you, if you want to study more, you can take this help, and various books also available. Apart from that, you can study the video will be, you can see and you can estimate or you can predict what it can be. Certainly, if I study the previous video part 1, that will be nature of perception part 2. Okay friends, video. We'll meet you soon with the next video. If you like this video, share with your friends. If you dislike it, share with me, or you can directly write in my comment box your critical comments, which are always welcome, or you can email me at varmasujit@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.